That is coming up at exactly 7 p.m. KCCA FC, the Kasasiro boys, do take on Onduparaka Football Club. And I'm in presence of two mighty gentlemen. One, the Ugandan football encyclopedia. I repeat, Tedo Nikta Musoke. The man who has been around and seen it all. And he has all the stories that you need to know. Earlier on, he was telling me one about Andrew Fimbo Mukasa. But then, I want to mention that one. I have another gentleman in a Uganda Cup winner. His name is Hassan Mawanda. And he does not need any sort of introduction. Hassan was of Mawanda. Good to have you, my brother. Previously, the times that Onduparaka has come to the Philip Omondi Stadium, that is in Ogogo, there has not been a lot of good stories to talk about, especially for the Onduparaka, the Caterpillars. I'll start with you, Tendo. What kind of games should we expect, Onduparaka, from an Onduparaka perspective? Because first things first, a lot of things have changed from their ways, from their days when they were in the league and now. Life in the big league. They've had times when they were actually mid-table, but now things have actually changed a whole lot. What do we expect from Onduparaka?
Well, we should say a roller coaster of a decade, because it's exactly a decade now when we first heard of the name Onduparaka. 2016, in the Uganda Cup final, they came at Nachivubo and played Vipers, and it was a roller coaster campaign. It had been a roller coaster season for them. The likes of Muhammad Shaban, Jagason were the talk of the town, and at a certain moment they seemed to be able to handle Vipers, which had been the big bull in the kraal by that time. And from that moment, the word Onduparaka became the talk of the town. And you would think if you left probably the country before COVID, you would come and think this is a big clash. But when you dissect it very closely, you realize it's a case of how the mighty have fallen. KCCA and Onduparaka served as a game also in the first game of Alan Okello. Alan Okello's first game as a 16-year-old in the win against Onduparaka. But Onduparaka carved out a reputation of not being, not losing. In Arua, especially at home. Right now, I don't think it's the same story. So much has happened, so much water has run down the bridge, and they are actually flirting with relegation in the FUFA Big League, which means before you know it, they could be a regional league side. That is how low they have fallen. Of course, the story has so many things, a lot of nostalgic situations. Like we have those stories, probably they would be needing a big book to write about them, a community club you thought would be able to float. But so much has happened, and it helps to show what can happen even to a community club when things don't run the right way. I just hope that it's a lesson other people can pick. Unfortunately, in Uganda, we like to banter so much and not learn from the things that have happened. But the game of football is a different thing. We might be talking all these things, and the team in green can come and stage a surprise. We've seen that happen. Being the Uganda Cup, it can be possible, and KCCA should expect a run for their money. But I don't think they are going to see the same fans that were invading Rugogo those days when people were thinking, hey, Onduparaka could come and even beat you at home. I just hope that pomp is there, and hopefully they can use this game to elevate themselves again and maybe fight relegation and hopefully come back in the top flight.
Onduparaka do have a long way to go, especially if they are going to come back in the top flight, because their position currently in the FUFA Big League table is in the red zone. That is the last four that could actually be facing relegation. But Hassan, earlier on when Tony Maweje was here, we did talk about his Uganda Cup and when he won it in 2004. Tell us a bit about yours and what was it like to win the FUFA Uganda Cup?
I think that season it was a very exciting season for me, because I had switched allegiances from KCCA and I went to Villa because we had misunderstandings between KCCA and I. But unfortunately, Villa was kind of a safe home for me because by the time I think engineer Misaga had come through and he wanted to turn around Villa. And for me, it was an opportunity to see one of those big clubs, you know, turning things around in Ugandan football. And it was an opportunity for me to come and play with my fellow teammates and the players that I knew that, you know, we grew up together, the likes of Nsumba, Ntambi, and because by that time Villa was a very strong team, but we were fighting for the championship. But unfortunately, we lost against Vipers. I think you remember that game at Nachivubo. And for us, our target was to win the league, but we did not win it because when we lost against Vipers, our focus turned on the Ugandan Cup, and we told ourselves that, guys, listen, we cannot finish the season without a trophy. And you know, our focus went on the Uganda Cup, and we took every game as a cup final against KCCA in Tungamo. Remember that game? It did not turn out to be a very good game. You know, fans and the players fought. Then we came back to Nambole. And we won because for me it was a sweet win for me, you know, beating my former paymasters, and it was something that, you know, got me to have a feel of winning the Uganda Cup. But all in all, this a Uganda Cup win is something that all these players are vying for. You know, if you don't win the championship, you can win the Uganda Cup and, you know, qualify to play in the on the Conference Cup on the continent. So for me, it is something that all these players have to understand, especially KCCA. When you look at how they've been playing, how they've been performing, they need to take this game seriously. Because when you underestimate a team like Onduparaka struggling in the big league, it may come and, you know, cause havoc for you. So we did not know so many players by that time. Tendo spoke about the likes of Jagason. Nobody knew those players. But on the big stage, they came and proved that, you know, they can fight with the big boys. So KCCA should be very careful in today's game because, yes, they may be struggling, but for them, it is something that they can redeem themselves. Tendo spoke about them. They can come and redeem themselves and maybe get back to their league and fight and maybe stop themselves from being relegated in the big league. So for me, it is something that, as a former player, winning the Uganda Cup, it wasn't easy, but you need to give in all your best.
Onduparaka have got to give it more than their best, because even their best might just not be enough. They need a little bit more. Let's talk a bit about KCCA Tendo, because just like Neck Football Club, someone joked that ever since they've started staying in boarding school, because with the renovations, they've actually started having camps for their home games, especially. Do you think that that and much more, what especially could be the point that turns them around to have the kind of form they have right now?
Yeah, that is exactly the problem we have, because it used to be a challenge, now it's a big problem. When you call a team camping, being in boarding school, then you don't understand the ethos of football. At the moment, when KCC was struggling, I think it was the fact that the coaches, the co-coaches, did not have a grip of the dressing room. In today's football, with so many distractions, it's not easy to keep a player focused, especially when you cannot control where they are and how they live. That is why some coaches that come with extravagant rules, like the case of R16 Abirie, he was telling players at Vipers, leave your phones there when you come here. Many players rebelled against him because they thought he was getting overbearing on them. But somehow with the advent of social media and all that, many people thought that the world becoming a global village will make many people enlightened. Actually, you are as enlightened as the content you follow. So the players of today probably like so much the virtual reality situation, and they forget that football is an actual reality. In an era where raw talent has died quite a big significance. Why? Because even in the academies, there's so many academies we have, they do not emphasize the articulate talent of a player, but their ability to read the game. And reading the game, not in the actual instance of game reading the way we knew it, but being able to manage your own weaknesses and work on your strong points. So we have so many artificial players. Actually, in my situation, with so many people I hang around with, I think many players of today are like actors. You come, give me a script, I act like John Rambo, for instance, or I act like a gate man. If I act it very well, you'll start calling me Askari. But it doesn't mean that I even know how to man the gate. It takes me back to a tweet where Jean-Claude Van Damme said he's wishing peace for Iran and all those countries. And somebody tweeted, when I was young, you guys used to beat an army. Why don't you, John Rambo and Chuck Norris, go and destroy this thing? So somewhere, somehow, when you have players camping together, you can try to drive a sense of unity within and try to get the trust that you need as a coach to maneuver some games. And that is probably the reason why the likes of Senyondo now have tried to go beyond that line where we thought maybe they are not good enough for the KCCA job. Before we even look at the playing style and all that, the manner with which they are getting the games off the line, over the line, is because they are trying to now understand the strong points of the players. It